Hey kids, this is Mrs. Sweeney, and this is the video on life casting, and this is a really good example of a life casting from a student that used, of course, her own face and used a plaster bandaging like we are for our sculpted mask onto, plastic molds. You can also, an option is to do life casting off of your face or somebody else's face or body parts for this. And so I'm going to put this aside. You see how it's very beautiful. Even the hair was made with the bandaging. And I won't show you the whole process because it takes a little longer, but I'm set up down below with the water. If it's warm water, it will set up the plaster much faster if that's what you're wanting. And let's see, also a lot of plaster bandaging already pre-cut in different bandage sizes. With my very dirty plaster scissors. Don't want to use the good scissors. I have a dry bowl that I put these in over here. And I have some extra rolls. The same kind of plaster bandaging you would use for like a cast. Okay? So it's kind of what we're doing is casting. And let's see, it has some plastic wrap here. It has some Vaseline petroleum jelly that I can also use for my face. So you would want to have some time, where someone could always be there to help you if you're doing this. You may notice I'm working in a mirror, so I'm kind of, you're viewing me and my reflection, just so you can kind of see me. And I'm gonna start, let's see, especially if you're doing like a hairy arm or anything like that, you notice you want to put hair out of your way. You don't want to have plaster bandaging like in your eyebrows or on anything that where your hair would get caught up in it or in your eyelashes. So there are some ways to kind of go about protecting yourself. One would be, and this is going to look really weird, but I'm going to go ahead and do it. Like you can have, sometimes we would get strips of the plastic and maybe put it across certain places, like maybe across the eyes, so we don't have to put a bunch of Vaseline on. So, but the old-fashioned traditional way is to use Vaseline to kind of just protect and make it so that your plaster, when it stiffens up and cures, that it will come off easy without taking anything with it. So I'm just going to show you that you can use, now you could even use, I know that you normally wouldn't want to get tape in your hair, but this is some painter's tape and it comes off my hair really easy, but it's just going to look so weird. But I mean, there are ways that you can get things to stay. Now I'm actually going to use this for something else too, so I'm just going to leave it kind of out here. And then the other old-fashioned way is to get Vaseline. And it can just be a little bit, but I'm not going to take it too far down anyway, so. Now, my issue will be is that normally you'd want to plaster across your lips and get the nice form of your lips in the mask and such. But obviously I couldn't really talk if I did that. So now I'm going to go ahead and just put the old-fashioned way, like get in my eyebrows in case I accidentally, while I'm talking, get plaster on myself. But this is going to help it come off. And then I'm going to go ahead and start using some of my bigger pieces. I'm going to take this, I'm going to hold it like this so that it doesn't just hit itself and stick. I'm going to immerse it into the water, dribble it off a little bit so I don't have a bunch of water just running down my neck here. And I could fold it over to get a nice kind of thicker edge if I wanted to, so that I could not have it all stringy. And then you do have to kind of rub it on. Now, I may run into the issue of it falling off my face, to be honest, because usually, not talking. And when I talk, of course, it's moving back and forth. So that's going to want to knock it off. Now, if I put a big strip on me like this, it's going to look like I put a big blanket on me. It won't take the shape. So I could get a smaller strip. Now, I am going to have to use this, though, because I did wet it. And you typically have about 15 minutes or so, give or take, before it starts to stiffen up. But a smaller piece, as you notice, just like a small bandage would work, I would conform it. Now, if you were doing this on a person and you were going to plan on covering the mouth, you would leave, like, I could cut little tiny strips and put them here, here, and I could keep the nose holes open, okay? Now, it'll be a little bit messier than usual because it'll probably want to kind of fall off. If I don't like the bumps, I could do a little bit of this where it would kind of fill in a little bit, but I'm going to work a little faster. Okay. Lost my scissors. There they are. I'm going to cut myself a few smaller strips. And use those. Sometimes I blot, which means I put it onto the newspaper to get some of the drippiness off. This is called a life casting. You would be going for a few layers to make it much stiffer. One layer wouldn't be enough. And again, it's going to want to move a little bit because I'm talking and moving more than I normally would if I was doing this. See, I'm going to keep my nostrils open for some very obvious practical reasons. I don't want it to drip into my dry bandaging. I think a little bit of it is right now because I'm in such an awkward position here. But remember, I immersed the bandage, and that activates the plaster that's embedded inside the mesh. Again, warm water would make it happen faster. Should have got this a little bit warmer. I'm going to bend this end under, make it stronger. And we'll see if I can make this survive and have it be a keeper so that you can see it when we come back to school. Go ahead and, oops. You don't want to get too far down your jaw because remember, you want to be able to get out of this without having to hurt the mask or cut it away or anything like that. But this will lift off enough. Notice I'm overlapping, kind of like you would do with a collage, overlapping the edges as you work. Since I'm moving my jaws and lips, it's wanting to kind of come off a little bit. That's normal. And if you had somebody here working with you, you could have a person on each side helping you with this, you know, get it done twice as fast instead of just me working on myself. But, you know. Now I can actually feel it stiffening on my face. This creeps some people out to feel that, but it doesn't really bother me. I normally would cover my mouth. Smooth it down if you want it smooth. Most people do want a certain amount of smoothness in it. Staying on a little better than I thought. This would be considered a half mask. You can do that. It doesn't have to be a full-blown mask. If you don't like the way the edge looks, you can tuck it under. Don't try to get scissors and cut it. You know how hard it is to cut through a wet mesh or a dry mask, either way. So if you want something to be open, you make it open as you're making it. Same thing goes if you're working with on top of a plastic mold. You would still want to work out if you're going to have eye holes or whatever it may be. So I guess I'm going to go ahead and shape it. I won't cover my eyes since we're just doing a demonstration. We'll tuck that under. It would be good to not get my hair stuck in there. We don't want it to turn into a waxing session. You know, when you get your legs waxed, you know what happens there. Let's see, I'm going to cut this in a little bit narrower so it conforms to my face a little bit more. I'll go ahead and get two dipped at the same time. Oop, wanting to fall off because I'm talking. Okay, I think another one across my nose to make it stronger. Smooth that little seam. Now I could still, you know, if I get like 2 or 3 layers on here, and then give it a chance to stiffen before I pull it off. I could work on it more at a later date. Let me get this stronger so it'll be a keeper. How much more? Chin's a little bit. I'm going to add a little bit there. Again, tuck the ends under if you want. It's kind of hard to see, but I'm trying to get a second and third layer so it has a little structure to it, a little bit of strength to it. And I'm going to tuck this under, so I don't need to go that far down. I really need to have a little bit of a stronger nostril area here. I'm going to dip those. Get a little bit cleaner there. Well, you might be asking, well, why am I making nostrils? If I have my mouth I can breathe through. You'll see why in a sec. I'm about to finish up enough so you get the idea. Yeah, the nose looks better now. A little bit more finished out, modeled a little bit more. Get that chin to stay in there. And the last thing I'll do is I'm going to, oops, this is a little bit, don't try to cut it when it's wet. It's a little bit big. Just, I'm going to close up the mouth part, breathe through my nose, and then let it stiffen. I want to try to show that crease a little bit. I didn't really need this because I'm not even working up there, but I'm just showing you that it's something you can do. A little big. I'm cutting it while it's wet. Wasn't too bad. Okay, I think we're done. About 10 minutes, and at least, and I can go. Okay.